Today we're going to check out probably the most recommended budget mechanical keyboard. This is the Qisan Magicforce 68, and as said, this is so often recommended when people ask on mechanical keyboard forums for a budget mechanical keyboard. The box itself is completely plain with all the branding and info on the slide-on piece of cardboard, and today we have the champagne or gold colored one with blue and orange LEDs, but we'll talk about the versions later. Opening it up, we have a plastic ring keycap puller. We then have the white mini USB cable with gold plated ends, and underneath the keyboard we have a quick start guide. The keyboard is covered in plastic and there's no foam, so whether it gets to you in good condition is up to the seller and how they package it. This is especially important since many of these will be bought from China. Anyways, here we have the keyboard. Again, this is the champagne or gold version with white keycaps and blue and orange LEDs. There's a couple of variations which include different key switches, but there's also a black one and a silver one. Also, some variations have white only backlighting, which is probably the best looking one you can get. First, we'll turn on the lights so we can see how it looks. It's super simple with this keyboard. Everything is controlled via the function key and the directional arrow keys as per usual. The brightness is controlled with the up and down keys, and the left key, denoted with a heart, activates the pulsing mode, with the right key controlling the frequency of that. So the first thing that you'll probably notice is that it's quite a compact keyboard, even more compact than the Drevo Gram R84 that I previously reviewed. This is because it's a 65% mechanical keyboard, so this is between the 61 key 60% boards and the 82 key or 84 key 75% keyboards. It's essentially a 60% board with the addition of the dedicated directional arrow keys, as well as some other useful keys above them. A lot of people invest in the 65% layout because they just can't live without their directional arrow keys, so this is perfect for those who don't want to take on the 60% layout quite yet. If you don't require primary access to the function row up top, then this would be a great alternative to 10 keyless keyboards, as it will essentially offer most of the necessary primary functionality while saving a massive amount of space. A more compact keyboard also comes with a few benefits. It's more easier to transport and carry around, and it also takes up less space on the desk for other things, but can also allow you to bring your mouse closer to yourself for better ergonomics with shoulder and arm positions. Although the lateral size of the keyboard is only very slightly shorter than a 10 keyless board. The keyboard looks quite minimal and has gone with a very typical Chinese design. It has an aluminium plate with a classic shiny chamfered edge, although what I typically find with these shiny chamfered edges is that they're easily scratched and dented. That's just my experience though, so let me know if you have that problem as well. The Magicforce branding is quite large, and it's in that section where I absolutely dislike anything in that area. Many keyboards use that area above the arrow keys to put some branding, but I always prefer it to be just blank and the branding to be elsewhere on the board. But this may not bother you. This then leads to the plastic shell, which has an angular design and tapered edges to make it look more thin, so that really does help give the keyboard a slimming look. Probably the most annoying feature on this keyboard, and many like it, is that ever prominent edgy gamery font or typeface on the keycaps. I honestly hope that if we just keep complaining about these, then somehow they'll fade away. A simple font is multiple times nicer and would help the keyboard look so much better in my opinion. Fortunately, this uses a completely standard ANSI layout, so you'd have absolutely no problems replacing these. Although as this is a compact keyboard, these keycaps do show all the secondary functions on them, so do consider that. These however are not backlit as they are just printed on. It has no top shell, so that reduces a bit of the weight, and it also makes it a floating key design. So the switches are exposed as well as the LEDs. This creates a great glowing effect that kind of illuminates the metal backplate, but also the surrounding area on your desk. This also allows very easy cleaning of the keyboard. Although these particular switches somewhat lessen that effect, and this is because this particular board is using Kale blue key switches. The really cool thing about this keyboard is that it comes with pretty much any switch you would want, and is part of the reason why it's so often recommended. It comes with Cherry MX switches, Gatorons, which are immensely popular, and also Kale being the cheapest. The thing with these Kale switches though is that they have black casings, so the LEDs won't be as able to radiate that light around the keyboard, but perhaps that may be a good thing if you want to kind of constrict that light. The Gatorons, however, will have transparent housings, so that will disperse the light more. These Kale Blues are just Cherry MX clones, so it has a tactile bump and a click. They're known to be a tad more inconsistent, so yours may be heavier or lighter than others. I kind of like Kale Blues because of the slightly less prominent click and sometimes lighter feel, but anyways, this is only one switch in many options, so do your research first on what switches you want, and here's a real quick sound test. The board utilizes cherry style stabilizers, so keycaps are super easy to remove and replace. The keycaps used are ABS caps but are double shot, so that's really cool to see. So there won't be any problems with letters fading away since it's just another piece of plastic. They're of a reasonable thickness. I've definitely seen thinner, but it's nothing much of note. At the bottom of the keyboard there is a cable routing channel, and this just helps to prevent damage of the cable and the port and accidental disconnections, although it only allows you to exit via the middle. There's also 4 rubber non-slip feet as well as 2 flip-up feet, which are also nicely rubber tipped. We also have some dip switches at the bottom. By default they're all down, so switch 1 allows you to swap caps lock and left control. Switch 2 swaps the Windows key with the function key, and the third one locks the Windows key. So they're all quite useful and are effective immediately when triggered. Now to open up the board, there's 6 Phillips head screws under the 4 rubber feet and 2 stickers. And it just splits up into 2 pieces, being the plastic bottom shell and the rest of it. The bottom shell is plastic and is probably ABS, but I can't confirm that since it doesn't label it on the shell itself. And it features a very good amount of ribbing on the bottom for reinforcement and good rigidity. However, this is mainly due to the tapered off front of the keyboard and leveling the electronics. And then we have the rest of the keyboard, being the switches that are mounted onto the aluminium plate and then the PCB. Since the aluminium is chamfered, there's no sharp edges, so you won't be getting cut or anything, and the aluminium is approximately 1mm thick. On the PCB, the soldering is standard and clean, and it does feature diodes all over the keyboard, so it does feature N-key rollover. And it also has heaps of little resistors for each LED. To back up all the good things about the keyboard is the price. Price will mainly be dependent on the key switches that you get, so Cherry MX boards will probably be the most expensive, but this can be found in the price ranges of $40 to less than 100, probably cheaper though, but I'm not really accustomed to overseas markets. And with that, we can see why this is so heavily recommended. It's got a great compact size, which isn't very common. It features quite a good build and finish with the aluminium plate. It also uses completely standard keycap sizes, which is an unfortunate absence with the 75% boards, so replacing keycaps will be a breeze, and that's probably something that you may want to do since it is kind of brought down by the font on the keycaps, although your taste may vary. But other than that, it's one of the top picks for budget keyboards, especially for those who just can't adjust to that 6% layout. So do I recommend this? Absolutely, especially if you can find some nice Gatoron versions. And yes, I will be doing some mods to this keyboard that will hopefully address my problem with the Magicforce logo on the aluminium plate, so stay tuned for that.